The night my family cut me off financially, they had no idea I was the one who had been funding their lavish lives for years. Can you imagine sitting at a dinner table, surrounded by your family and feeling completely alone? Share your story in the comments. Hit the like button and subscribe to see what happens next. I'm Evelyn Harper. I'm 28 years old, and I thought I knew my family, until that dinner changed everything. We were all sitting at the dinner table in our big Atlanta house. It was the kind of house that looked rich and fancy, with chandeliers hanging from the ceiling and polished floors that shined like mirrors. The walls were covered with expensive paintings, and there were big, soft couches in the living room. But I wasn't there to show off or act fancy. I was there because it was a family dinner, but I already knew it would not be fun. My startup was my life. I worked on technology that I believed could help people, and maybe even change the world. But my parents and my sister didn't see it that way. They laughed at it. They thought my dream was silly and childish, something I should have given up a long time ago. I was wearing jeans and a cozy sweater, while they were all dressed in fancy clothes. My mom had diamonds shining on her necklace, my dad wore a crisp suit, and my sister Brianna had her gold bracelets glinting in the light. They sat with big smiles on their faces, acting like they were perfect and better than everyone else. The air felt heavy and tense. Forks clinked against plates, and the sound seemed louder than usual, like it was echoing in my head. Then my mom leaned forward. Her voice was sharp, like a knife cutting through the quiet. "Evelyn, we're done bailing you out," she snapped. "We're not your bank anymore." My dad nodded slowly, his eyes cold, looking at me like I was some charity case they were tired of helping. My sister laughed, and it wasn't a happy laugh. It was a mean, cutting laugh. She said I would never be as successful as her. They thought they were teaching me a lesson, showing me my place. I stayed quiet. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I looked at it for a second, and inside I knew it held the key to everything. They had no idea what was coming. No clue. I held the power over everything they cared about, and soon they would see it. If you think they kept laughing, think again. This story is about how I turned their own words and arrogance against them. As the appetizers came, my mom's voice turned cold. "Evelyn, your little tech project is a waste of time," she said, cutting through the soft background noise of people talking and glasses clinking. She looked at me with disappointment, like I had personally insulted her just by chasing my dream. Mom leaned back in her chair, her diamond necklace shining under the chandelier. "You're almost 30. When are you going to grow up and get a real job?" Dad didn't pause. He set his wine glass down carefully, his face stern, like he was giving me a punishment. "Your sister is out there closing million-dollar deals in real estate," he said, pointing at Brianna, who smirked proudly. "That's what success looks like, Evelyn. Not some app that hasn't made a single dollar." His words hurt me, but I kept my face calm and my hands folded in my lap. I didn't want to give them the reaction they were waiting for. Of course, Brianna couldn't stop herself from bragging. She tossed her hair over her shoulder, and the gold bracelet on her wrist caught the light. "I just signed a contract for a downtown condo project," she said, her voice full of pride. "7 figures, Evelyn. That's the kind of money you'll never see chasing your silly dreams." She laughed, a sharp, cutting laugh that made my stomach twist. "You're still living off our money, aren't you? Always needing help." Mom nodded, folding her napkin perfectly, like she was proud of scolding me. "Brianna's right. We've been too soft on you. You can't keep depending on us forever." It felt like a punch, but I didn't flinch. I had heard it all before. Every family dinner, every holiday, the same story. They thought I was weak, someone who would never measure up. Dad leaned forward, his voice serious. "It's time you stood on your own 2 feet, Evelyn. No more safety net. You need to learn what it means to work for something." He spoke like he earned everything from nothing, but I knew their mansion, cars, and life came from the family trust. The irony was not lost on me. I stayed quiet, letting their words wash over me like cold water. Brianna wasn't done. She sipped her wine slowly, looking at me with amusement. "Maybe you should take a page from my book," she said. "Get a real estate license. Start small. Actually help the family." She spoke like I was a child. "You're not cut out for this startup nonsense." It's embarrassing. I clenched my jaw. Their words weren't new, but tonight they cut deeper. They saw me as a dreamer, a burden, someone who would never be anything. But I wasn't going to argue. I wasn't going to beg. I felt my phone in my pocket, a quiet promise of what was coming. They thought they were in charge. They thought they could decide my future with their money and words. The room was full of their confidence, their smug smiles, their sharp looks. They were so sure of themselves. I let them talk, let them dig their own hole. They had no idea I was about to change everything. When everyone raised their glasses to toast, my phone buzzed. I looked at it. The name on the screen was Eleanor Briggs, the trust fund manager. Her message was short but heavy. Approve monthly allowances for Richard, Eleanor, Brianna Harper, $20,000 each. I slipped the phone back into my pocket. The weight of what was coming felt real. Their sharp words and smug smiles burned in my mind. They thought they were in control, but they were about to be shocked. I caught Sophia Lane's eye. She was my best friend and partner in the startup. She had been with me for all the late nights coding, all the investor meetings, and every moment I doubted myself. I gave her a small nod. She slipped away from her conversation and came to stand near me. They have no idea you're in charge, she whispered. Her voice was quiet but excited. I leaned closer. They've been living off my decisions for years, I said, looking at my mom, dad, and Brianna laughing with their fancy friends. It's time they wake up. The dining room doors opened. Eleanor Briggs walked in. Her heels clicked loudly on the shiny floor. She had a leather folder and looked calm but serious. The chatter stopped. Everyone could feel something was about to happen. Mom's smile faltered. Her eyes narrowed. Dad's jaw tightened. Brianna froze mid-sentence, her eyes flicking to Eleanor. Miss Harper, Eleanor said, looking at me. I need your approval for the trust fund dispersals. She opened the folder. Inside were papers with the trust's seal. Every head turned to me. The room went quiet, almost like the air had been sucked out. Dad laughed loudly, trying to sound strong. This is nonsense, he said. Evelyn managing the trust? She's just a dreamer with a failing app. Mom's voice was tight. You're wrong, Eleanor. Our daughter doesn't handle our money. She can't even handle her own life. Brianna crossed her arms and smirked. What's this? Some joke, she asked. Evelyn controlling our money? She's nobody. Eleanor didn't move. She slid a document across the table. A part was highlighted. Miss Evelyn Harper has been the sole trustee of the $20 million Harper Family Trust, she said clearly. Since age 25. She controls all assets, your mansion, cars, and your $20,000 monthly allowances. No money is released without her signature. The room froze. Dad's face went pale. Mom grabbed her necklace, her eyes wide with shock. Brianna's smirk disappeared, and her hand shook as she held her glass. Eleanor closed the folder, nodded at me, and left. The sound of her heels faded down the hallway. The silence was so loud it was almost like a ringing in my ears. Everyone stared at me. I stood up, my voice steady and strong. For 3 years I've approved every dollar you've spent, I said, looking at them. Your cars, your vacations, Brianna's condo deals, it's all because of me. You thought you were in control, but it's always been me. Their world was falling apart, and I was just getting started. As dessert came, my phone buzzed again. I pulled it out, not paying attention to the clatter of the plates or the forced chatter around the table. I smiled quietly, knowing that for once I held all the power, and they couldn't touch it. I could see the confusion and fear in their eyes, and it felt amazing. They had spent years looking down on me, laughing at me, thinking I was weak. But they had no idea who they were dealing with. I thought about all the times I had been patient, all the nights I had worked on my startup when they said it was useless, all the moments they mocked me. And now it was my turn. I took a slow breath. I looked at my parents, their faces red and pale at the same time. I looked at Brianna, whose arms were crossed tight and trembling. You've been living off my decisions, I said again, my voice calm but cutting. Every single dollar, every trip, every gift. I've signed the papers that let you spend it all. And it's my choice what happens next. The room was so quiet you could hear a pin drop. Their mouths moved, trying to form words, but no sound came out. I looked at Sophia across the room. She smiled at me quietly. She knew. We had been planning this, and now it was happening. I felt a rush of power and pride. I wasn't a child. I wasn't weak. I wasn't a failure. I was the one in charge, and finally they could see it. The screen lit up with a message from David Kane, the bank manager who took care of the trust's money. It said, confirm. Hold on all Harper family allowances. I didn't press reply right away. My hands hovered over the keyboard. My heart felt steady, even though the moment was heavy and important. For years, my family had treated me like I couldn't do anything right. They laughed at me, ignored me, and acted like I was a failure. But now it was my chance to show them they were wrong. I stood up and spoke quietly as I dialed David. Put a hold on everything I said. Don't give Richard, Eleanor, or Brianna Harper any money. Do it now. David's voice was calm and professional. Understood, Miss Harper. It's done. I hung up the phone, slid it back into my pocket, and went back to my seat. My face showed nothing. I didn't want them to see anything. Brianna was the first to notice something was wrong. She frowned at her phone, tapping the screen over and over with her perfect nails. "What's this?" she muttered, her voice getting higher. "My card isn't working." She tried swiping again, but the same error popped up. Her cheeks turned bright red. Her eyes darted to me, suspicious. I sipped my water calmly, pretending nothing was happening. Dad's face changed, his fork stopping midair. "What's happening, Brianna?" he asked, sounding sharp and irritated. She handed him her phone, shaking. "My accounts are frozen. And my big real estate deal downtown. It isn't going through. The money didn't come out." Mom's hand flew to her chest, her bracelet jangling. "This must be a mistake," she said, her eyes going from Brianna to me. "Our accounts have always been fine." But her voice trembled. I could see she was worried. She looked at Dad, gripping his arm. "Richard, what about the house, the taxes, the mortgage? Is it safe?" I leaned back in my chair, speaking calmly. "The mansion belongs to the trust," I said, looking at all of them. "And I control the trust. Without my approval, there's no money for anything. No taxes. No house. No spending." Dad's face went pale. His usual confidence was gone, replaced by worry. "That's ridiculous," he said, but his voice sounded weak. "We don't need your permission to live our lives." Brianna's voice shook as she spoke. "You're bluffing. You can't just stop giving us money. We have our own accounts. Our own deals." Her hands shook, and she held her phone like it could save her. Mom tried to sound calm and reasonable. "Evelyn, be reasonable. We've always supported you. This must be a mistake." I shook my head, my face cold. "For 3 years, I signed every check that paid for your cars, your vacations, your fancy life. You thought you were in charge. But it was me all along." The room went silent. Brianna's phone buzzed with an email. Her biggest client was canceling their contract. Her carefully built business was falling apart. Dad tried to sound strong. "We don't need your handouts," he said, but his clenched fists showed he was scared. I raised my eyebrow, letting the silence grow. They could pretend they didn't need me, but the truth was, everything they had depended on me. Mom's eyes shined with tears, but she tried not to cry. "Evelyn, you can't do this to us," she whispered. I didn't blink. Their panic was real. They had mocked me, dismissed me, and tried to make me feel small. Now they were paying the price. The room stayed quiet. Then my phone pinged with a new email. It was from a venture capitalist I had pitched my startup to last year. The subject line read, "Concerns about your startup's credibility." My blood boiled. Brianna had told investors my startup was a scam. She tried to ruin my company before it could grow. I looked at Brianna. "You told investors my startup was a fraud," I said quietly but sharply. Her face went pale, and she opened her mouth to deny it. But I held up my phone, showing the email. "This is from one of them," I said. "Everyone could see it." Brianna stammered, her hands shaking. "That's a lie." Mom looked at Brianna, then back at me. Her face showed guilt. "Brianna was just protecting our family's reputation," she said, her voice shaking. "Your startup is risky." She was looking out for us. Dad nodded, jaw tight. "She didn't mean harm," he said softly. I could feel my heart sink. They knew what Brianna had done. She tried to ruin my dream, and they still defended her. Brianna tried to explain. "I had to, Evelyn. Your app was a joke. It was dragging our family down. I was saving us." Her hands shook as she held her phone. Her empire was falling apart. The room felt small. The air was heavy. I set my phone down, looking cold and steady. "You all knew," I said, my voice cutting through their excuses. "You knew Brianna lied to investors and tried to destroy my work, and you still defended her." Mom clutched her necklace. She didn't deny it. Dad looked away, silent. Brianna's shoulders slumped. Her pride was gone. "You thought you could break me," I said, standing taller. "But for 3 years I signed every check that paid for your lives, your cars, vacations, and Brianna's deals. You betrayed me. And I'm done." I paused. The word betrayal hung in the air, heavy and real. No more allowances. No more trust fund. Not a single cent. Mom gasped, holding her chest. Dad's face crumpled. Brianna's phone fell to the table with a soft thud. Their world was falling apart. I didn't feel sorry. They had chosen Brianna's lies over me. Their loyalty was to themselves, not family. It was time to show them I didn't need them to succeed. The party was ending. I stood up, ready to leave. The room was quiet. No laughter, no clinking glasses. Just stillness. Mom, Dad, and Brianna sat frozen, shocked. I had heard enough of their apologies, excuses, and lies. I straightened my shoulders. The $20 million trust fund is mine to manage, I said, looking at all of them. And I'm putting every cent into my startup. My tech company, the one you called a joke, is my future. You get nothing. Not now. Not ever. Mom gasped, clutching her chest. I stayed strong. This wasn't revenge. This was fair. Dad's voice broke. Evelyn, the mansion. If you don't release the funds, we can't pay the property taxes. They'll take it. His perfect, confident look was gone. The Atlanta mansion, their symbol of status, was now a problem they couldn't fix. I met his eyes. That's not my problem anymore, I said. You made your choices when you dismissed me. Brianna's eyes went wide. You're destroying me, she shouted. My clients are gone. My deals are dead. I'm nothing without my reputation. Her hands shook as she held her phone, hoping it could save her crumbling world. I didn't feel sorry. They had tried to crush me, to ruin my dreams. Now the truth was clear. I was stronger than they ever expected. I walked slowly around the room, letting each of them see me stand tall. Their panic and fear made the air feel heavy. I felt a strange calmness. I didn't need them. I didn't need their approval or their money anymore. I looked at Brianna again. You tried to hurt me. You lied to everyone about me. And you almost ruined my company. But it's not too late for you to learn a lesson. Her face went red. She looked small, even though she had always acted like she was in control. Mom whispered, almost crying. Evelyn, please. We didn't know it would go this far. We just wanted to protect the family. Protect the family? I said, my voice cutting. You protected lies. You protected someone who tried to destroy me. That's not family. That's fear and selfishness. Dad tried again. We were wrong. We didn't see it clearly. Please, Evelyn. I shook my head. You've had your chance. I trusted you, and you all chose to betray me. I'm done letting you control anything. Brianna's phone buzzed again. Another client pulled out. Her empire was falling faster. Her hands shook harder. I felt a quiet satisfaction. Not because I wanted to hurt them, but because justice had finally arrived. They had treated me unfairly for years. Now the truth was clear. I was in charge. I was strong. I was unstoppable. I picked up my own phone and checked my startup's accounts. Every dollar from the trust fund was ready to go in. My company would grow. My dreams would come true. I didn't need them, their money, or their approval. The dining room stayed silent, except for the soft sound of Brianna's phone hitting the table, Mom's shaky breathing, and Dad's defeated sighs. I took one last look at them. You thought you could break me, I said softly. But I am stronger than you ever imagined. I don't need you. I am enough on my own. And with that, I turned and walked away. The party was over, their world was crumbling, and my future had just begun. I didn't look back. I didn't feel guilty. I didn't need to. For the first time in years, I was free, in control, and unstoppable. The woman who had spent her whole life building big, expensive apartment buildings was now losing everything she had worked for. Her fancy lifestyle, full of shiny cars, big houses, and expensive parties, was slipping away like sand through her fingers. I didn't feel sorry for her. She had tried to hurt my new business, tried to ruin my dreams, and now her own life was starting to fall apart. Mom's voice trembled, barely above a whisper. Evelyn, we're your family, she said, her eyes looking into mine, searching for some sign that I might forgive them. You can't just leave us. But her words felt empty. They had left me first. They had made fun of me when I was younger. They had treated me unfairly, and they had betrayed me in ways I would never forget. I shook my head, my heart strong and my mind clear. Family doesn't hurt each other, I said. Family doesn't lie to investors to destroy someone's dreams. That's what you did, not me. I took a step toward the door, my voice calm but full of strength. I don't need you to succeed, I said. I built my company with my own hard work and my own ideas. The trust fund is just a tool I'll use to prove you wrong. My startup wasn't just a dream. It was real. It was proof that I could do things by myself. I didn't need them to tell me I was good enough. I didn't need their money or their name to show that I could succeed. Everyone around us was quiet, watching me. Dad sat very still, his hands folded on the table, staring down as if it could tell him what had gone wrong. Mom's shoulders sagged and her face looked tired and sad. Brianna, my sister, held her phone, but no text could fix what had already happened. They had thought they could control me, but now they saw the truth. Their life had been built on my hard work, and now I was done helping them. I turned to leave, my steps firm and steady. You thought you could break me? I said at the door. But I'm the one who has been holding you up, and now I'm finished. They didn't say a word. The room, which had been full of laughter and teasing earlier, was now quiet. They had lost everything, money, status, power, because they had chosen to betray me instead of believing in me. I walked out. The Atlanta skyline shone through the big windows of their mansion, glittering with lights and tall buildings. It reminded me of the city where I would make my own way. I didn't look back. They had to face the results of their own choices. Tax bills were piling up, clients were leaving, and their carefully planned, fancy lives were crumbling. I was free. Free to build something bigger than their small world. Free to use my own strength, and the trust fund I controlled, to make my dreams real. 6 months later, I stood in my new office, looking at Atlanta's skyline. The office was shiny and full of energy. Computers and screens glowed with information. My team was brainstorming ideas, and my app's logo shone proudly on the wall. My tech startup had become a rising star in Atlanta. Local magazines wrote stories about us, calling our company a game changer. The $20 million trust fund, which my family had used for their fancy life, now helped me build my company. This company was mine, built from long nights, tough choices, and a clear vision. My heart swelled with pride, not just because the business was successful, but because I had proved them wrong. Meanwhile, Mom and Dad's world had gotten much smaller. Without the trust fund, they couldn't pay the property taxes on their huge Atlanta mansion. They had to sell it for less than it was worth and move into a small apartment far from the city. I had heard from old family friends that they now lived very simply. Dad's investments had shrunk, and Mom was only able to work part-time. The life of private jets, fancy dinners, and gala events was gone. Now it was replaced by grocery shopping on a budget, secondhand furniture, and quiet, small days. Brianna's fall had been even bigger. Her glamorous real estate career had ended. Her biggest clients left her, scared because her accounts were frozen and her big deals had been canceled. She had taken a small office job, pushing papers and doing tasks for a tiny fraction of what she used to earn. The designer handbags, fancy shoes, and exclusive parties were all gone. People whispered at events about what had happened to her. She had tried calling me once, leaving a voicemail, but I never answered. Her lies about my startup still hurt, but I didn't let them stop me. Sophia Lane, my best friend and co-founder, had stayed by my side through everything. She was there for every pitch, every problem, every victory. As we looked at the newest user data on our computers, she smiled, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "We did this, Evelyn," she said warmly. "Not them. Not the trust fund. We did it ourselves." I nodded, feeling grateful for her constant support. Our startup wasn't just surviving. It was growing quickly. Investors wanted to help, and thousands of people were downloading our app. Sophia's belief in me had kept me strong when my family had tried to tear me down. Looking out at the city, I thought about the lesson I had learned. I wanted everyone to know it. Never underestimate someone who might hold your future. My family thought they could control me, ignore my dreams, and even ruin my work. They were wrong. Real success comes from believing in yourself, not waiting for anyone else's help. I had built something real and lasting, something they could never take away, because I trusted myself when no one else would. Their downfall was not my fault. It was the result of their own choices. Mom and Dad's pride, Brianna's betrayal, they brought it on themselves. They had thought I would fail, but I turned their doubt into fuel. The trust fund, once their safety net, was now my tool to create my future. I didn't need their approval to know I had won. Every day in my new office was full of energy. My team and I worked hard, creating new ideas and helping our users. Every time I saw a new download or a happy message from someone using our app, I felt proud. This wasn't just a business. It was proof that I could succeed on my own. Sophia and I often stayed late in the office, talking about new features for the app. We shared ideas, laughed at mistakes, and celebrated every small success. Sometimes I would pause, looking out the window at the sparkling city lights, and remember the night I left my family's mansion. The feeling of freedom, the determination to build my own life, had never left me. I wanted to make sure that everyone who heard my story understood something very important. No one should ever let others make them feel small. If someone doesn't believe in you, or even tries to stop you, it doesn't mean you are weak. It means you have a chance to show your own strength. I had learned that self-reliance, hard work, and believing in yourself are more powerful than money, status, or approval from others. I had built my company from scratch, proving that dreams can become reality if you keep going, even when people doubt you. The lessons I learned were not just about business. They were about life. I learned that the people who hurt you, the ones who try to control you, cannot take away your courage, your ideas, or your heart. They can only hurt you if you let them. Mom and Dad's world had shrunk, Brianna's career had collapsed, but I had grown stronger. I had turned pain into purpose and betrayal into motivation. I had used the tools I had, including the trust fund, in a way that helped me build something meaningful. Every morning, I woke up excited to go to work. Every night, I went to bed feeling proud. My company was not just surviving, it was thriving. The app we built helped people, made life easier, and brought new ideas to the city. And all of it was proof that I had trusted myself when no one else did. I wanted everyone who heard my story to understand one thing. Never give up on your dreams. Never let anyone make you feel small. You are stronger than you know, and your own ideas, hard work, and courage can build a life that is truly yours. And so I continued to work, to grow, and to dream. Sophia stayed by my side, and together we built something lasting. My family had made their choices, and I had made mine. I didn't need their approval. I had my own life, my own company, and my own future. And that was worth more than all the money and status they had lost. My journey showed me that believing in yourself is the most important thing. And now, looking at the city lights every evening, I knew I had created something real. Something that could never be taken away. Something I had built with my own hands, heart, and courage. To everyone reading this, thank you for listening. I hope my story helps you remember. Never let anyone make you feel small. Your own strength is enough to build your own path. And if you keep believing in yourself, you can make your dreams come true, no matter what anyone else says.